All right.
Uh,
We're going to be talking about Notebook LM. And Alec, I was excited to see this on here because we've had a session on that. I became really interested in Notebook LM. So I'm glad you're going to be showing us a little bit more about that and how it can be used. And I know in my own personal life and also professional life, I have been putting together my notebooks, as you might say, of information so that it can be more helpful to me. So I'm excited to learn more about that. And if you all haven't used Notebook LM, this is going to be a great session for that. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Alec. Alec
sure.
from Pulaski County teaches at Southwestern High School, correct?
Yes.
And anyway, so I'll let you get started there. He's also one of my Epic teachers.
Yeah. Thanks, Jackie. I'm glad you brought up the whole point about this is a product that I know we're focusing on education, but sometimes I feel like the best educational products are products that aren't just solely for educational purposes. So, like you were saying, I've used Notebook LM for all sorts of things, helping me plan trips. Um, Actually, I'm into Dungeons and Dragons role playing, so you can put all sorts of information in here, and it'll help you out with all that stuff. One thing I was actually thinking about today, as examples, was if you're religious or anything, and you want to put like Bible study things in there, it would help you research some of that stuff and get different perspectives. So it's a really great tool. But let me share some of my stuff real quick. So there we go. I think everyone can see that, right?
Yes, that worked.
So kind of how I'm going to do this is I've got slides set up here, but I think kind of the best way to do it is let me show you all real quick how you get to this. So this is a Google product, and you can just go to the waffle over here. I've got multiple accounts on here. So like I said, I'll use this for my private account, but I'll use it for school accounts too. And here it is. So as you can see, I've made a lot of notebooks, and a lot of what I've done is for my psychology courses. Um, the textbook on that, it's a pretty thick textbook. It goes into a lot of different content, and what I like to do is put each unit in a separate notebook. And the thing I like about that is it keeps it pretty simplified because if I try and throw a bunch at my kids, it overwhelms them. And I can share these. Unfortunately, and I'll get to that in a second, a lot of the restrictions on Notebook LM are for people 17 or under 18, I guess. Uh, you can't share certain things with them. And I think part of it might be our school systems uh, doing but I'll show you some stuff throughout this. Um, like Jackie said, I'm been teaching for over 8 years at Southwestern High School in Pulaski County. Um, the cool thing about this that I like is this helps me understand the content better, I think. And in my opinion, that's probably the most important thing is if you as a teacher don't understand what you're teaching, it's hard to, you know, communicate that, get your students engaged, get them to understand why they should be learning this, or maybe how that's going to help them later. In life. And so this really does a great job of breaking it down. Some of the stuff that I like about it is this is tools, resources that you are using already. So if you're using stuff that your school is paid for, a lot of times you hear about high quality material, instructional material. That's kind of the big thing right now. Um, then you can, if you don't like the way some of those programs are, you can still grab information from those products and you can add those into into these notebooks. So I'll give you a couple examples here in a second. Some of the things that you can upload into this notebook, and when I say notebook, it really is like a digital notebook. Imagine you have like a three-ring binder, right, with the college ruled lines, and you're taking notes in there. And on this digital side of things is, imagine your teacher's handing out, certain papers, or you're recording the lecture that they're giving. and it's all in this one digital place, which I really like. Um, so things that you can add in here, like I said, PDFs, websites, YouTube videos, uh, pretty much any type of audio file, MP4s, MP3s, and then it's all integrated into Google. So if you like using certain Google Geminis or Gems, you can rip those from those conversations, and you can add those into your Notebook LM. And I'll show you some of that stuff in a second. Um, the other great thing about this is you can have a conversation with it, but it's not so much like Gemini or ChatGPT. It's not trying to act like a human when it's talking to you. It's more of just giving you straight information from what you've already shared with it. So it's helping you find, um, stuff that's inside of the sources that you've given it. And it provides those inline citations, which is really nice. I'm gonna flip back and forth to here, make sure I got people. Okay, good. All right. So continuing on, uh, essentially what this can do is it can give you just generic notes, but it can also provide those audio overviews, which is actually my favorite thing. I'm going to share with you one of the audio overviews that I had it made the other day. Um, One thing about this, just like any other company or any other AI, is make sure you're not sharing information with it that's personal, especially kids' information. Um, it does talk about later on uh, copyright information and stuff. Um, Obviously, if you're not trying to make money off of it, you can pretty much put anything you want into it. But just be aware of that stuff. Don't be putting personal information into it, just like any other AI. Um, there is personal accounts, so I do have a personal notebook. And so if anybody's ever interested in looking at my Dungeons and Dragons stuff, I'll gladly share that with you all. Um, the big difference that I've seen between a workspace and a personal notebook is the sharing aspect of it. So I don't know if it's because where I have an educational email, but it will not let me share notebooks back and forth with my personal email. Um, that could just be something on my end that I'm doing wrong. So just be aware of that. If you're a lot of times what I'll do with like Google Docs or slides is I will send something home and I'll edit it or I'll get information from websites that would be like blocked on my district computer and then I'll send them back and share them back and forth. So these notebooks, for whatever reason, it's not allowed me to share back and forth. Um, but as long as you're able to access your school email from your personal home device, you should still be able to add stuff in there just fine. So, skipping ahead through a couple of these, I want to kind of get to the meat of it all. One really great thing that I do love about this is as a millennial, I love to use my phone when I have access to it. So, NotebookLM also has a phone app. And one thing that you do need to be aware of is if you are downloading this on your personal device, then it will not let you put your school email on there unless you have a work profile. So I do have two Notebook LMs, but I'll show you what the app looks like here real quick. There it is. It's kind of blurred out there. There we go. You guys can kind of see it. See if I can turn my. Hmm. You guys kind of get the aspect of it. But there's all my. I just move it back and forth real quick. People can kind of see it. But anyway, it's on there just like it would be on my computer. And the great thing is, like for instance, just the other day. I was headed to work and I realized that I hadn't prepared a notebook for my class. So as I'm pulling out of the driveway, I just pull my phone out real quick and I go ahead and I have it create a podcast for the class to listen to for the following lesson. And by the time I get to school, the podcast is created and I didn't have to worry and rush. and worry about making copies on top of getting Notebook LM to do whatever it was supposed to be doing when I got to work. So having an app is pretty user friendly, I think. It's something that I really appreciate because you can kind of on the fly just be adjusting it. Um, Actually, yesterday I was in an ARC meeting for my whole planning period. So I can just kind of pull out my phone real quick, tell Notebook Ellen to do something, and then when I go to my desktop computer in my classroom for 6 block, there it was. So I'll show you some of that stuff in a second as well. Uh, Really cool thing about Notebook LM is where it is Google. It has a ton of backing, and there is 80 plus languages. So another good example is I have two English second language learners in my last class of the day, and one of them speaks Spanish primarily, and their English is getting there. And I have another student that is Indian, and so I have to kind of adjust some of the slides and some of the stuff that I give them. And this is also a good thing that I can share some of the tools that I make with Notebook LM is it's in their own languages, their primary language that they speak, and to kind of help them out with their English learning is I can have the exact same slideshows that I can send them side by side, and they can kind of see the English and the Spanish together, which has been really handy. And I got some of that stuff that I'm going to save to the end. That's just talking about personal responsibilities, like I said, and they do have a Google Help page. So a lot of this information from my slides is directly from those Google Help pages. They do have a Discord if anybody's into that. Um, and actually, pretty much all this information on the slides is directly from Notebook LM's information page, and it turned it into a slideshow for me. Um, the great thing is when I kind of looked over this whole slide, is there was maybe two or three spelling errors in the whole thing, and this is a pretty long slideshow, as you guys can see. And in my mind, I was like, well, it took probably a quarter of the time, probably even quicker than that, how long it would have taken me to make this high quality of a presentation. And, uh, I would have had way more mistakes in my slides than it had. But it will make mistakes just like any other AI. But the comforting thing is I know the information is correct because it's the information that I have provided it. It's not going out into the internet or it's not just making stuff up because we all know that AI typically, if it doesn't know the answer or if it doesn't understand what you're asking it, then it will just give you false information. So this is the really handy thing about Notebook LM. It proves that it's using the information that you're giving it. And again, I'm going to try and get all the good stuff at the end. So I'm just getting through some of the basic stuff. Um, the big thing that I would say that I want to show you guys starting out is besides all these different types of sources that it will take, by the way, off here to the side, here are my sources. So I only have two sources on this one, but it will take up to 50 different sources. Um, and like it said, it'll take 500,000 words, which is roughly, if you single space, I think that's about 1,000 pages. If it's double spaced, right? A little bit more. So, most people I don't think are going to have 50,000 pages worth of information to share with this thing. But if you do, then it just kind of shows you how vast and comprehensive the knowledge that it can take and the what it can comprehend. So great things that I like is where it is Google based. It uses your Google Drive. So if your school uses Google Drive, it can actually search your own Google Drive. I'll show you guys that right now. So if I was to, let's see, import. Oh, I have to delete a search real quick. Sorry. So let me back out of this. All right. So I could, well, of course it's, oh, here we go. So I got to delete my last search. Okay. So here's my search bar. I can go in here and instead of hitting web, if I only want stuff that I have from my own Google Drive, and I want to look up psychology. Uh, let's just do that. And I can do a fast search. I can do deep research, where it's just my Google Drive. It's going to pick up keywords here. Instead of having to go to my Google Drive, go to certain folders, or search in Google Drive. Let's say this is day one. The very first thing that it brings up is my syllabus from 2025, right? Um, and then I can just straight up import that right into these sources if that's what I was going to be making. Um, which I think is really nice because there's no dragging things over from one tab to another. It's just integrated in there. And you can always get rid of sources. So if you don't want to delete a source, let's say that you have 51 sources and it only takes 50 sources, you can just unclick one of these sources and it won't use that as a basis to answer your questions. Um, this says paste it text just because I haven't put a title on it. But what I have done is I've actually gone in to my digital textbook and I've just copied and pasted certain pages and put it in there to simplify it. So there you go, module 4.5 about psychodynamics. Um, but you can put your own information in there. So if you want to type up your own information, or you have your own study guide or something, you can put that in there. It doesn't have to just be from an online source. And then YouTube, which is owned by Google as well, um, just goes hand in hand with it. It's really easy to put YouTube videos in there, and I'll show you that too. Um, I guess one of the really nice things is the studio section over here on the right side. And you have several different tools. There's 8 tools currently. Um, the first one that I really want to kind of skip over to is your notes section. So in the middle here is the notes. And I'll give you an example real quick of how that would work. So if I want to ask it, and it's already kind of got some of our conversation that I was practicing with it earlier this morning to make sure it was working right. But today at 8:51, I said, what role in psychology did Rorschach play? And so all the information that's giving me is only what I've shared from this one crash course psychology video and the information that I got from my textbook. And I love this because whenever, if I wanted to, I could save this note by just hitting this button and it comes over here in my studio section. And then so I can click on this and it will pop right back up in here and it will show me everything that it had just talked to me about. And if I don't like that, I can just delete it. If I love it, I can export it to a Google Doc, and that's a great way that I can share it with my students. And I use Google Classroom in their Google classes. Um, so another thing is, we'll just say I delete that, say I don't like that response. Let's look at something like where it's getting this information. So a lot of times whenever like I've used ChatGPT before and I'll ask it, what is the id, which is what I have up here. And in psychodynamics, I have a general idea of what it should be giving me. But if it misrepresents what I'm asking it, it will just go off on a tangent. And then if I say, hey, where did you get this information? Uh, it will say, oh, I got it from this article or this link. And I'm like, okay, well, let's click on this link, and it ends up just being a totally broken link, or it's not exactly what it says it is. And so at that point, I'm like, well, is this, can I trust this with anything that I'm trying to have it do for my students, right? And so the thing I love about this is it actually has insight type citations throughout here. And so, for instance, it says, role and personality structure. Freud viewed personality as the result of a conflict between impulsive and pleasure-seeking id. And so I can go on there and say, let's see if this is legitimate. And it will actually tell me that this is from my pasted text document. And if I want, I can search these exact words in my pasted text document. And there it is. So I think that's really handy. Um, I haven't seen so far this ever give me information that hasn't been correct or wasn't from a source that I provided. Um, And I'd say the number one thing I love about this notebook section is if it doesn't have the information, it will just say, I don't have the information to that, which is a reassuring thing for me. It kind of goes back to that old saying, you can tell if someone's really smart because they're able to say, I don't know, right, to a question. And it seems like so many AI systems out there will give you a response even if they really don't know. But Notebook LM will just say, I have no clue. You didn't give me this information, um, which is reassuring for me. Um, One other thing, the fast research versus deep research. So whenever I was showing you that search function, if you want to use the internet to try and find more sources to go along with your notebook, that's great. So instead of using your Google Drive, you could use the web, and you can use fast research versus deep research. Um, I will say when I've done the deep research before, um, it's pretty good content, but it will give you stuff that's not academic. So for instance, I've seen uh, let's just pull up ego versus id for deep research. It can take a pretty long time. I've had my deep research go as long as I would say 45 minutes in some cases. So I don't know how long this is gonna sit here and spin for. But whenever it does bring this up, sometimes it will show like a Reddit link, and it will just have people talking about psychodynamics or psychoanalytics. So just be aware. Um, there are some good quality things that it will show you. It has shown me academic work and papers, but it will still show you things that are not academic. So just be aware of that in the deep research. The fast research is exactly what it says. It's about as quick as a Google search. It's just integrated into the program, which is nice. I know I've been babbling for a while, so let's see you guys if anybody has any questions real quick. All right, yeah. Creates a sense of trust. I agree. Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about this. Uh, it does, Amy. It does time out sometimes. For instance, um, over here on this slide deck function, this is a beta function that's been out for I feel like maybe it's been out since November, maybe October. But when I've used the slide deck function, it will sit there for an hour, and sometimes it will just say over here in this right side panel, it will say error, and sometimes I'll click slide deck again. For instance, I'll show you right now. So let's say I want to make a slide over this, and I'll say, I want to keep this short instead of the default length. Most of the defaults for the slideshows are around 12-ish slides, I would say. But so let's say I want to keep it short and I don't want any presenter slides. I just want the slide deck and I want it in English. And I want to say focus on the psychologists and their whoopsie experiments. So like that's how I would make that. But sometimes, and it will just sit there and spin. So it's based off of two sources, which is I have on the left side there. But I've had it sit there and spin for an hour, and then it just says it's an error, which is unfortunate. But then I'll turn right around and I'll just say do it again, and then it works. So where it's still a beta feature, these two have given me issues. I've never had an issue with audio overview. I have had an issue with the video overviews, and I'll show you an example of a video in a second. I've never had issues with mind maps, reports, flashcards, or quizzes. So, and I have actually had any problems with the infographics. So, uh, any other questions on uh, anything? Let's see.
I,
Uh,
I did want to say this. So, maybe Monday or so, Jamie, or one of us, probably Jamie, is going to put together like all of the slide decks and resources and things. So rest assured, you'll get these pretty soon. And also the ones from the past years are in there too. So
Yeah. Uh, Brian, uh, if the information is provided in the notebook, it will not search the web or give, it won't give like a generic ARI response, other than just saying, I don't know. So if you didn't give the information to it on those sources, then it can't answer your question, right? So if, uh, I have nothing about 2 plus 2 in there, I mean, we can just try it, right? I'll be interested to see what this does. So, what is 2 plus 2? Let's see if it says anything. Because it's supposedly, right, it's supposed to, here we go. So it says, I've reviewed the provided sources. Uh, they do not contain any information regarding the mathematical equation of 2 plus 2, right? So, and then it says, here's your source, and here's your other source. So there you go. However, drawing from the information outside the given source, the answer is 4. So there you go. So it does have the capability to search the internet, but what I like there is that it said, hey, I got this from an outside source. So at least it's transparent, which is the most important thing for me. Let's see.
I think
Yeah.
the things we're talking about, like about transparency, or like when you were talking about a Reddit thread, those are
Hmm.
great conversations to have with kids too, about, checking out your source and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of got to teach the media literacy with it too, right? Kylie, you're asking about the podcast. Let me go and just play this one for you because the slides kind of take forever, and I'd rather just kind of get to it.
Welcome back to the deck. You know, we
Can
talk
you guys
about
hear that?
things like ego and Freudian slip all the time.
Right.
But how many of us really know, like, where they come from?
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into some excerpts you sent over from a psychology textbook,
Great.
all about psychoanalytic and psychodynamic theories of personality.
Sounds good.
I'm excited to see what we find.
Yeah. By the way, this was 326 days ago, so I've been using this for a little over a year, and so this is one of the earlier ones, and they've updated um, all this stuff, I would say 3 or 4 times at this point. So the quality is getting better, the AI voices are getting better. I'll skip ahead just to give you an idea.
Full of creativity and wisdom,
Right.
and even spiritual potential.
Yes. And this all leads to the question,
Yeah.
how do these theories, both Freud's and the Neo-Freudians, hold up against what we know from modern research?
That's
So what I use these for is I will actually download these and then I will put them in uh, my own Google Classroom, which you can share it if you want. But I like having them on my own flash drive. So if anything ever happens, I like having backups. But I have these all organized, and I can actually see if let's open up my Google Drive real quick and show you guys. Um, I might have to go through my classroom notes to find it, but let's see. Mhm. That's not it. Well, anyway, I have a whole folder somewhere in here and I can't find it at the moment, but it's all organized and I shared that folder with the kids. So, what I do is I say, hey, this weekend, guys, you need to be looking at 3.7a. I've got a podcast on there. There's an infographic on there, and some kids, I'll say, hey, you need to be reading this section of the book, and we all know how it is, especially high schoolers, right? Like they won't read it. And even if I give them time in class and say, be reading this, they'll do everything in the world but do that. But for a lot of kids, right, for podcasts, they're like, oh, it's a podcast? Yeah, I'll listen to that. And so it's a great way to kind of get some of that information in that they otherwise wouldn't. The other really cool thing about these podcasts is you can have an interactive mode. Now, personally, I've actually never messed with the interactive mode, but you should be able to ask questions to it and it will respond to you. So it's kind of like a tutor in and of itself. Um, and I'll be honest, like I use this to help me learn the content too. because it seems like no matter how many times I'll read over the same module, by the time I get to that module the next year, it's like I'm a little rusty again. So it helps me kind of freshen up on that stuff. Uh, but let's see if I can.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We tossed around terms like ego and Freudian slip all the time. And how many of us really
Oh, wait. Someone wants to join. Hey, go for it.
What is a Freudian slip? Who is Sigmund Freud? And
That is
so
a wonderful question.
there
it's
we
a great
go.
place to start, actually.
Sigmund Freud is really the central figure here.
He's like the famous guy in psychology.
Right. He's known as the founder of psychoanalysis.
He was an Austrian physician.
So pretty neat stuff. Um, you can pretty much go all day with this as long as it can answer questions from those sources. And since it's the textbook that I'm using, or parts of the textbook, and it's a crash course video, which I've watched myself, um, I can trust that it's actually gonna give the correct responses to the kids, uh, when and if they use this, or for myself, right? So, I love that aspect about it. I'm gonna try and find you guys the video uh, as well. Let's see if I have the video here. Uh, it's not in this one. I don't make too many of the videos, but when I have, they're really good. Uh, no, I just went to that one. No. Well, that's the slide deck. We'll have a video in here somewhere, but and we'll try and make one real quick and see if by the time we get out of here, if it will be ready. I don't know if it will be though. So go to video overview. And by the way, the really cool thing about all this is you can go in here and you can edit it how you want. So I've used the classic, which the classic is pretty much like these slides. It's beige and it's like very muted colors, which if you like it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little boring. Um, the whiteboard I've used before, which is really great. It's pretty much like animating, like someone was drawing all the cartoons for the kids. I haven't done any of these other ones, but you can also put in a custom one, and you can just say, hey, like, I want fire and flames or something, right? And it should give you some type of theme like that. Let me see what else everybody else is saying. If I wanted to gather all the previous documents or worksheets I've created on topic, will this pull them together? Yeah, it will pull them together, which is great. Um, I think uh, actually on one of the economic ones that I had pulled up randomly when I was looking for that video, I put all of my Unit 4 slides together and I just combine them together. So I'll have kids take notes on those, and if they have questions, instead of having to come up to the board or come up to my desk all the time when I'm already helping like two or three other kids, they can just walk up to my smart board in front of the class and they could uh, actually ask the questions about those notes so they can get the information and they don't have to search, 160 something notes for my Unit 4 notes. Um, yeah. Yeah, Kylie, it doesn't really sound super AI voice. And like I said, that was the voices from 326 days ago. So it has gotten uh a little bit better. Um, do I have a video example? Yeah, I wish I could find that video. Like I said, I don't do too many videos. But uh that I will say this. There was one video I made last term for my psychology class, and it was talking about color theory. Um, and one of the things about color theory was like how it plays into optical illusions. And so it tried to do an optical illusion in the video, and it got the colors wrong. And so it really wasn't like the wording and the narrator was awesome, and the pictures were super great. But because it got the colors wrong in the video, it kind of just wasn't good. So, just be able to watch for that stuff. Typically, also the videos are around 7 minutes, I think is kind of what I've had them at. Um, does it have a, let's see. Yeah, does NotebookLM have a database of notebooks that can be searched that people have made public? There is sharing options. I'll be honest, I don't know that. I don't know that one. Um, but like if I wanted to share, let's say like this one with another psychology teacher, I'll share it with my wife here, and I can make her the viewer, editor, or I can take it away from her. Um, one thing that I've kind of noticed about it is once you give someone access, a lot of times they can save and copy their own stuff and share that to other people. So, again, if you have anything private on it, or personal information that you don't want people to know, then, just be careful who you send it with, because even if you take away that access, if they copy a lot of the notebooks and the sources themselves, um, then that could be an issue. Like for instance, one future example I could see is if we start giving my students like their own accounts that have access to their own notebooks. If I share my notebooks and the sources have like answers to some of the tests or something, um, then they would have access to that. And so you just got to be careful with what you're sharing to people, like always. Um, so yeah, well, thank you, Amy. Um, Let me show you a couple other things before we get out of here. So the mind maps are really straight and forward. Like I think this might take a few seconds to make a mind map. Um, I'll actually go back to another one real quick. So I think it was this Erickson one. So yeah, here's a mind map of Eric Erickson's four stages of ego. This is what I went over Thursday with some of my students. So it breaks it down into the four sections, and then what I like about it is, let's say that they understand achievement, they understand moratorium, they understand foreclosure, but they have no clue about diffusion. You can click down, and then it breaks diffusion into simplified chunks. And if they aren't if they don't like not having pictures, then you can show them. Let me get out of that for a second. Oh, and one other thing, you don't have to ever share anything with Google. As far as like Google's not spying. I mean, it's Google, so who knows? But Google says they aren't looking at anything inside your notebooks. So the only information you have to provide back to Google is if you say this is good or bad content, which I like because, um, for instance, a lot of AI programs will say we are training on the conversations that you're having. Um, and it goes back to if you're not having to pay for the product, right? Then how is the company making money off of you? It's making money off of like the data and the information you're giving it, right? So one cool thing is NotebookLM. Google says, they're not looking at this. Where it's your own sources, the AI is only having to search inside of what you're giving it. They just want to make sure that it's doing a good job or not. So, for instance, with the video I was referencing where it showed the wrong colors in the illusion and it messed up the illusion, I said that was bad content. And like, I'll give you an example real quick what that looks like. It's just giving a feedback thing. And then all you do is you'll get an email from Google and it will say, hey, thanks for sending feedback. And, we'll reach out to you if there's any other issues. Um, Let me show you a couple other things real quick. This is the infographic. I love the infographics. So this is what I showed them yesterday. And the cool thing about this is I had about 3 or 4 pages on Eric Erickson's four passive identity. And to be honest, it was kind of boring. So what I did was I was like, well, give me an infographic and then let me show it to the class and help break it down for them. And so it did a great job. It didn't take very long to make this image. And pretty much simplified it to two things, right? Like, have you explored who you are as a person and have you committed to that identity, right? And so that's achievement if you've done both those things. And then it gives one sentence. So it took something that was 4 pages long that if I would have asked my kids to read, to be honest, I feel like they would have wasted some of their time because this simplified it down so much that they can go back and if they can explain to me what identity of achievement is in 1 or 2 sentences, then I feel like they understand the content better than having to go through and read a whole textbook. Um, Let me see if I have anything else that I had brought up. Uh, Here's the video. Let's check out the video, guys.
Let's talk about one of the most famous and, yeah, most controversial names in all of psychology, Sigmund Freud. Love him or hate him, you really can't deny that he completely changed how we think about the human mind. His ideas are, well, they're everywhere. I mean, just think about it. Ego,
So just skipping ahead, just
real,
the
very physical problems that have absolutely no physical cause. He's seeing people with some truly baffling symptoms. Imagine a hand that's completely numb, but all the nerves check out just fine. He tried hypnosis, which was all the rage back then, but it wasn't really working. So he invented a new technique, free association. He just tells his patients to lie back, get comfortable, and say literally whatever popped into reminiscing. The story you come up with is believed to reveal more about your inner world than it does about the picture.
so pretty awesome. Again, you can share this, you can download this. Um, I'll be honest, when I was looking at the video the other day with my regular psychology class, I before I'd showed it to the class, I had like 10 minutes before my planning was over. So I put that thing on 1.75 speed and
And of course, there's the most famous one of all, the Rorschach ink blot test. What do you
so there
think?
you
Should I
go.
apply?
It speeds up. Um, you know, I like it because of that. It makes my life easier. It helps me teach the content better. I can share that with the kids and know that's reliable. So these are all reasons that I love this program. It's got so many things all in one. Let me show you a couple more things before I think we got to get out of here soon. It was my economics one. There it is. So a lot of times, kids love flashcards. They just don't love making them, but they love to do these. And what you can do is you can uh, take flashcards right here. It'll make them for you. You get 51 cards based off of, these selected sources that are my work, right? Um, and then they can just go through here. I can download these cards right here, and I can actually put them up on a website like oh, what is it? Quizlet. I can put it on Quizlet. I've done that before with some of my classes. I can put that on Google Classroom for them. Um, and again, these are my definitions. These are the book's definitions. This isn't something that they're getting from somewhere else. So if they're paying attention to the slides and they're taking their notes and they're reading the sections of the book that I'm telling them to, it's going to be consistent. Because one of the worst things I hate is if you find something online and, it'll be like a semantic problem. Um, like for instance, the other day I was teaching my economics class about the factors of production. And the way that our book has it is like the second factor of production was capital, but and the third one was labor. But when I took them to another website and I asked them, what's the second factor of production? That website had labor as the second one and it had capital as the third one. And so like my kids got it wrong and they're like, but you told us it was this. And it's like, okay, like sometimes one's the second label, the second factor, and sometimes it's the third. So like semantic things like that, you don't have to really worry about. So that's the flashcard function, and then I'll show you the quiz function. And the cool thing about the all of these is you can edit it however you want. So if I want a really difficult test for my kids and I want it based off of the information I give it, then I click hard. I've only given them easy and medium stuff so far, just because I kind of want to build them up and make them feel like they're good starting out the semester. I don't want to crush their dreams or anything yet. But and then I can give them fewer questions. So fewer questions is typically like 5 questions. The standard a little bit higher, and then you can go as much as 30. And so I've given 30, I think is what this one is. Let me see real quick. It should tell me somewhere. No, this one's 12, but the most I've ever made is 30. And so this one was probably the default. And so it says, which market structure is characterized by a few very large sellers that dominate the industry, such as fast food market with McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King, right? And so let's say I have no clue. Let's just say perfect competition. It says, nope, sorry, it's an oligopoly. And so if I didn't know that, or if I was a kid, I didn't know that, and I can put these up on my board and share these with the kids, I can say, explain it, right? And it can take them right back to the notes and say, hey, you have a paper version of your notes. here are the digital versions of the notes that you should have been taking. And we can actually go back to the exact part. There's that slide, right? It's talking about AT&T and Verizon are oligopolies. And the very last bullet point brings up McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King, right? So I love that. They can retake these. Sometimes I do these in front of the class with the kids. So, it doesn't feel like I'm calling anybody out. I'll say, hey, my, row number one over here, you guys take a minute, tell me what you're going to answer for this question right here. Right. And so it's gas stations. They remember that we use an example of, the gas station out in Jabez, and they're like, oh, that's geographical monopoly. Right. So I love that because it goes right along with what you're saying. I make a lot of my own tweaks and stuff that are separate from the book. Um, and so I like it for those reasons. Um, I
Alec,
think we're out of time, right?
we are, and I was going to say this is awesome, and I think Amy's exactly right. I was just sort of introduced to Notebook LM recently and have been trying to use it. You've been in it for a while and you've got a lot of great
Yeah.
ideas and strategies for using it. So, like we ask other people, are you open if someone has a question, if they email you at some point, to kind of talk that through with you?
Yeah, for sure. I'll put my email. I guess is that probably the best way to do it, right? Just put my email in the chat.
You can, but we'll also, yes, definitely. We'll
Okay.
also be sending out a link to the like everyone's presentation, all their
Oh, great.
stuff. So that will you will be getting that as soon as Jamie gets that all together. But there's Alec's email address. And definitely thank you all so much. Alec, particularly, thank you. This was a lot and really good stuff and things that I hadn't thought about on how to use that still. So I'm loving it.
Um, Krista, or who is it? Kim? I don't really have a Twitter handle, so unfortunately, I used to have one, and then I've lost it, and so I don't really do social media that much.
I
Uh,
would really encourage you to go, maybe not Alec, but go to X and post about good things that
X.
are happening with you today and all the good stuff that we're seeing. So I'm